Take that off. Mercer's voice cut through the police sirens as red and blue lights flashed across the streets of San Diego. He pointed at the Raven 4 patch sewn onto the shoulder of Maya's jacket. Maya stopped, her hand reaching toward Elijah's bag. Beside the patrol car's wheel, Elijah slumped toward the pavement, his chest heaving violently. Sergeant Harlan stepped forward, glanced at Maya's Pacific Mercy Hospital nurse badge, then said to Mercer, "She has no authority to interfere." Mercer moved closer to Maya. "What gives you the right to wear that military jacket and interfere with this scene?" Maya replied, "My credentials matter less than the fact that the man behind you is passing out." Elijah's head dropped forward. Maya immediately turned toward him. "Elijah? Stay with me." The young man tried to answer, but only a strained breath came out. Maya pointed toward the canvas property bag, sitting on the hood of the cruiser. "His inhaler is in there." Mercer blocked her with one arm. "You're not touching evidence." "I'm not asking for evidence. I'm asking for medication." Harlan stepped closer. His voice remained calm, almost courteous. "Ma'am, take 2 steps back." Maya looked at Elijah again. His breathing had become shallow and uneven. "Sergeant, he needs his inhaler now. You've already been told this is an active police scene, and you've already been told he's having respiratory distress." Harlan's expression tightened. Mercer looked from his sergeant to Elijah. For a moment, even he seemed uncertain. Then the police radio crackled. "Unit 12, update. Suspect description revised. Black jacket, red baseball cap. Vehicle, possibly a sedan." Mercer glanced toward Elijah. Elijah wore a gray t-shirt. No cap. His vehicle was a compact SUV. Maya noticed the change in Mercer's face. "You heard that?" she said quietly. Mercer ignored her. Harlan looked toward the cruiser and then at Elijah. "The description is preliminary, but it changed," Maya said. Harlan turned toward her. "That does not concern you. It concerns the man you have restrained." Elijah suddenly folded forward. Mercer caught his shoulder before he could slide down. "Carter?" No answer. Maya moved closer. "Release his right hand." Mercer snapped his head toward her. "You don't give orders here. Call it a recommendation and do it faster." Harlan stared at Maya. Something about the certainty in her voice irritated him. "Officer Mercer," he said, "maintain control of the scene." Mercer hesitated. Maya never took her eyes off Elijah. "Look at his breathing. His shoulders are working too hard. He's barely getting words out." Mercer looked. He saw it. He didn't like admitting it, but he saw it. "Let her assess him," he said. Harlan turned slowly. "You sure?" Mercer crouched beside Elijah and released one side of the cuffs. Maya immediately knelt nearby. "Easy," she told Elijah. "Look at me." His eyes opened. "Inhaler," he whispered. "I know." Maya looked at Mercer. "The bag." Mercer retrieved it, checked the label, and handed it over. Maya guided Elijah through the medication, speaking in the same calm tone she had used countless times inside emergency rooms. "Slow breath. Don't force it. Again. Good." Elijah's breathing gradually became less frantic. Mercer watched her work. There was no drama in her movements, no wasted motion, no hesitation, just experience. Harlan watched too. Then his attention returned to the jacket. His eyes narrowed at the faded patch. "Raven 4, he said. Maya stood. "Yes? What is it?" "A call sign." "Whose?" Maya said nothing. Harlan glanced at Mercer. Mercer stepped closer. "Are you active military?" "No." "Reserve?" "No." "Then why are you wearing military identification at a police scene?" Maya looked down at the old patch. "It's an old jacket." "That doesn't answer my question." "It wasn't meant to." Mercer studied her. "You knew this was a police stop. You entered a controlled area wearing a military jacket and started giving commands. I gave medical guidance because a man was struggling to breathe. You challenged an officer. I challenged a decision." Harlan's voice stayed level. "You have no authority to interfere." Maya looked directly at him. "Neither does a uniform give anyone authority to ignore a medical emergency." Mercer's jaw tightened. Harlan nodded toward the jacket. "Take it off." Maya did not move. "What?" "Remove the jacket." "Why?" "Because I need to determine whether you are representing yourself as military personnel." "I already told you I'm not." Then it shouldn't be a problem. Maya's eyes stayed on Harlan. It is. Mercer stepped forward. Ma'am, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Maya looked at him. I'm not the one making it harder. Harlan spoke quietly. Officer Mercer. Mercer reached toward the jacket. Maya stepped back. Don't. The word was soft, but Mercer stopped. For the first time, he noticed something strange. She wasn't afraid of him. She looked tired, not frightened. Tired. Tired in a way he had seen only in people who had spent too many years learning how to remain calm when everyone else lost control. Harlan's voice hardened. Miss Williams, you are being detained for obstruction. Mercer moved forward with the handcuffs. Maya didn't fight him. She simply held out her hands. As Mercer secured the cuffs, Elijah looked at Maya from beside the cruiser. Are you okay? Maya gave him the smallest nod. Get checked out. Harlan watched her. Remove the jacket before transport. Maya lowered her eyes. Her fingers moved slowly toward the zipper. Mercer noticed the scars that disappeared beneath the sleeves of her scrub top. He couldn't explain why, but the old jacket suddenly didn't look like a piece of clothing anymore. It looked like something that had survived something with her. Maya drew one breath. I'll do it myself. She reached for the zipper, and Mercer, for reasons he could not yet understand, felt a sudden certainty that whatever was hidden beneath that jacket was about to change everything. Mercer released the second cuff from Maya's wrist, but he did not take his eyes off her. Without the jacket, she looked smaller somehow, not weaker, just more exposed. Her hospital scrubs were plain, dark blue, and slightly wrinkled from what was clearly a long shift. A hospital badge hung from a lanyard at her chest. Harlan glanced at Maya's uncovered arms, then immediately looked away. Put the jacket in the property bag, he told Mercer. Mercer bent to pick it up. Maya spoke quietly. Don't fold it. Mercer paused. Harlan looked at her. Excuse me? It has medical insignia on it. Don't crush the patch. Harlan gave a faint, humorless smile. You're concerned about the patch? I'm concerned about unnecessary damage to my property. For a moment, nobody answered. Then Mercer folded the jacket carefully and placed it into the clear, evidence-style bag. Maya watched him do it. Elijah was being transferred to the ambulance now. His breathing had improved, but he still looked exhausted. Maya took one step toward him before stopping herself. Mr. Carter, she said, stay calm. Let the paramedics do their job. Elijah nodded weakly. You helped me, he said. Maya gave him a small smile. Just get checked out. The ambulance doors closed. Its lights continued flashing against the nearby buildings as it pulled away. Only after it disappeared did Maya turn back toward the officers. Harlan held out his hand. Your identification. Maya gave him her hospital badge. He studied it for several seconds. Senior trauma nurse. Yes. You work at Pacific Mercy. Yes. You've been there long? Almost 12 years. Mercer glanced at her. Harlan handed the badge back. Then you know better than to interfere with an active scene. Maya stared at him. I know better than to watch a patient lose consciousness and do nothing. He was detained for a reason. And then the reason changed. Mercer's eyes moved toward Harlan. The revised description had changed. They both knew it. Harlan did not acknowledge that. Instead, he looked at Maya's bare arms again. You still haven't explained the jacket. I told you. It's an old jacket. That's not what I asked. Maya remained silent. Harlan stepped closer. What does Raven 4 mean? Her expression barely changed. It was a call sign. Assigned to you? A pause. Yes. Mercer looked at her again. Harlan noticed. Military service. Yes. Branch? Maya answered reluctantly. Navy. Active duty? Not anymore. Combat? Maya's jaw tightened. That is not relevant to what happened here. Harlan gave a small nod. That answer tells me it probably is. Maya said nothing. Mercer shifted his weight. Sergeant, we should get her statement and let her go. Harlan turned toward him. Should we? Mercer did not answer. Harlan continued. She entered the perimeter without permission, challenged an officer during a detention, ordered an officer to alter the restraints, and refused a lawful instruction regarding her clothing. I told you why I did those things, Maya said. I know what you told me. Then you know none of it was criminal. Harlan's eyes hardened. You may want to be careful with that word. Which word? Criminal. Maya looked at him for several seconds. I'm being careful. That answer irritated him more than an argument would have. Harlan turned to Mercer. Take her to the station. Mercer hesitated. She's a witness. She may be. And Elijah? He's being transported. Mercer looked at the empty street where the ambulance had disappeared. Then back at Maya. You'll give a statement? Yes. At the station? Maya nodded. Harlan pointed toward the cruiser. Then let's go. Maya started walking. Mercer followed beside her. For several steps, neither spoke. Then Mercer said quietly, You really weren't trying to impersonate anyone. Maya looked at him. No. I had to ask. I know. He glanced at the old scars covering her arms. Those injuries. Military? Maya kept walking. You ask too many questions. He almost smiled. Occupational hazard. Then you should know when a question has already been answered. Mercer said nothing after that. At the cruiser, Maya stopped before getting inside. She looked back toward the street. Her jacket sat inside the property bag on the hood. For years, she had worn it without thinking. Tonight, it suddenly felt like something everybody else had decided to interpret for her. She turned toward Mercer. I want one thing noted in the report. What? That Elijah Carter was experiencing respiratory distress before I touched his property. Mercer studied her. I can put that in. Harlan's voice came from behind them. No. Mercer turned. Harlan walked closer. We don't write conclusions based on a civilian's interpretation. Maya's expression hardened. I'm a registered nurse. And he's a police subject, Harlan said. He's a patient. Not in this report. That sentence stayed in the air. Mercer looked at Maya. Then, at Harlan. Something had changed. It was small, almost invisible, but Maya noticed. So did Mercer. Harlan walked around the cruiser and opened the rear door. Maya Williams, he said, you are not under arrest at this time. You are being detained while we clarify what happened. Maya stepped inside. Before sitting down, she looked directly at him. Then clarify it accurately. Harlan closed the door. Mercer remained outside for another moment. He stared through the window at Maya sitting quietly in the back seat. Then his radio crackled again. Unit 12, be advised. Additional information from dispatch. The original suspect vehicle is now believed to be a dark sedan. Repeat, dark sedan. Mercer slowly turned toward Harlan. Harlan heard it too. For the first time that evening, neither man spoke. Inside the cruiser, Maya heard every word. She lowered her eyes. The pieces were already beginning to shift, but she still had no idea how far Harlan was willing to go to keep them from falling into place. The San Diego Police Department interview room was colder than Maya expected. She sat alone at a metal table beneath a fluorescent ceiling light, her wrists resting on the tabletop. The cuffs were gone, but the pressure they had left behind remained in her skin. Across from her, a small wall clock moved silently. A paper cup of water sat untouched near her elbow. Her jacket was gone. For the first time in years, she was sitting in a public place with both arms uncovered. She kept her hands folded. The scars did not hurt anymore. Not most days. What hurt was the way people changed when they saw them. The door opened. Officer Mercer stepped inside carrying a thin folder. Behind him came Sergeant Harlan. Maya looked at the folder, then at Harlan. You said I was being detained while you clarified what happened, she said. How much clarification do you need? Harlan pulled out the chair opposite her. That depends on how cooperative you are. I've been cooperative. Mercer sat down beside him. Harlan opened the folder. Let's start with the scene. You entered an active police perimeter without permission. I stopped because Elijah Carter was in respiratory distress. You approached him. Yes. You gave officers instructions. I gave medical recommendations. You told Officer Mercer to remove a restraint because the patient needed access to his medication. Harlan leaned back. Patient? Maya looked at him. You keep calling him a police subject. He was struggling to breathe. He was detained, and he still had lungs. Mercer lowered his eyes for a moment. Harlan noticed. So that's how this is going to be? Maya frowned. How? What is going to be? You believe your professional judgment places you above procedure. No, Maya said. I believe procedure exists for a reason. So does common sense. Harlan closed the folder. Then let's talk about the jacket. Maya's expression became still. You wore it into a police scene. It carries a military call sign. You refused to remove it. Why? Because it's mine. That isn't enough. It doesn't have to be enough for you. Mercer looked at her. Harlan continued. Are you active duty military? No. Reserve? No. Do you currently hold any military authority? No. Then why wear a jacket that suggests otherwise? Maya's voice remained calm. It doesn't suggest anything unless someone decides it does. Harlan stared at her. What does Raven 4 mean? Maya said nothing. Mercer finally spoke. Sergeant. She already answered that. She said it was an old call sign. Whose call sign? Maya looked at Mercer. Mine. The room became very quiet. Mercer leaned forward. Were you Navy? Yes. Harlan glanced toward Mercer. Hospital corksman? Maya hesitated. Yes. Mercer studied her uncovered arms. Combat assignment? Maya's jaw tightened. That part of my life is over. Harlan noticed the hesitation. It sounds like you don't want to discuss it. I don't. Why? Because it has nothing to do with Elijah Carter. Harlan opened the folder again. It may have everything to do with your credibility. Maya stared at him. My credibility as a nurse comes from my license, my training, my record at Pacific Mercy, and the care I gave that man tonight. Harlan leaned forward. And the jacket? Maya looked down at her arms. It belongs to me. Mercer looked at her scars again. There was something about them. Not just the scars. The pattern. The surgical lines. The grafting. The way Maya seemed completely comfortable, refusing to explain them. He had seen something similar before. Not a face. Not a name. A detail he couldn't yet place. Mercer opened the folder and looked at Maya's hospital badge. Maya Williams, he said slowly. She nodded. Pacific Mercy? Yes. How long? Almost 12 years. You work trauma? Senior trauma nurse. Mercer stared at her. Where did you learn to handle respiratory distress like that? Maya gave him a faint, tired smile. Medical school. That isn't what I meant. I know. Harlan stood. Let's take a short break. Maya watched him leave. Mercer remained behind. For the first time since the street, the two of them were alone. He closed the folder. I owe you an apology. Maya did not answer. I was wrong about you. You don't know that yet. Mercer looked surprised. I think I do. No, Maya said quietly. You know one thing. What? You know I wasn't trying to impersonate anyone. Mercer nodded. That too. Maya waited. He looked at her arms. What happened to you? She lowered her eyes. An old deployment. Where? Maya didn't answer. Mercer hesitated. Then he asked a different question. Did they call you Raven 4? Maya's eyes lifted. The room changed. Not because she reacted dramatically, because she recognized that Mercer had asked a question he had no ordinary reason to know. For a while, she said. Mercer leaned back slowly. His face had lost some of its color. He studied the patch visible through the clear property bag on the other side of the room. Then her scars. Then the small marking near her wrist. Air 4. He swallowed. Were you attached to a Marine evacuation unit? Maya's eyes narrowed. Why are you asking me that? Mercer's voice became quieter. Because I need to know. Maya said nothing. He tried again. Did one of the men you treated keep asking whether someone had called his mother? Maya stared at him. No. Mercer's shoulders dropped slightly. For a moment, Maya thought that was the end of it. Then she said, he kept asking whether his mother remembered to feed his dog. Mercer froze. Maya continued. A yellow lab. His lips parted. Cooper. Maya gave one slow nod. Mercer looked down at the table. The silence stretched. Then he whispered, It was you. Maya did not smile. She did not look proud. She simply answered, Right now, it's him. Mercer looked up. Elia. Maya nodded. He needs a nurse more than I need a story. Mercer stood. His chair scraped softly against the floor. Harlan returned at that exact moment. What happened? Mercer looked at him. She wasn't impersonating military personnel. Harlan's eyes narrowed. You've reached that conclusion very quickly. Mercer didn't answer. Harlan glanced toward Maya, then toward the property bag containing the old jacket. Something unreadable passed across his face. Then we'll document that. Maya watched him carefully. The words sounded harmless, but something about them wasn't. Harlan picked up the folder. Officer Mercer, get the incident report started. Mercer nodded. Harlan turned toward the door. Maya spoke before he could leave. Sergeant? He stopped. If the report says Elijah wasn't having respiratory distress, you're going to have a problem. Harlan looked over his shoulder. Why? Because the monitor in your ambulance will say otherwise. For the first time that night, Harlan smiled. It was a very small smile. Then I suppose we'll see what the records say. The door closed behind him. Mercer remained still. Maya looked at him. Neither spoke. Outside the room, a printer began running somewhere down the hall. One page, then another, and Maya realized that whatever happened next would not be decided only by what they remembered. It would be decided by what someone chose to write down. The printer was still running when Maya left the interview room. She followed the hallway toward the hospital exit with her nurse badge back around her neck and the sleeves of her scrubs pulled down to her wrists. The old jacket remained inside the evidence bag at the station, and without it she felt strangely unbalanced, as if she had left a piece of herself behind. Outside, the evening air was cooler. Her phone vibrated before she reached the parking lot. It was Pacific Mercy. Maya Williams? Yes. This is Karen from hospital administration. Are you still at the station? I just left. There's been an issue with Mr. Carter's chart. Maya stopped beside her car. What kind of issue? The emergency record was reopened after you left the treatment area. Maya's face tightened. I didn't reopen it. I know you're saying that. I'm asking because your credentials were used. Maya looked through the windshield at the reflection of the hospital lights across the hood. What time? Karen gave her the approximate time. Maya closed her eyes. That was after she had returned to the police station. I wasn't at the hospital. We know. Then you know I didn't access it. We're trying to determine that. The words were polite, but Maya knew what they meant. Someone had opened Elijah Carter's medical record under her name. The call ended with a request that she return to the hospital first thing the next morning. Maya stood there for several seconds. Then she called Evelyn Brooks. Evelyn answered on the second ring. You sound tired. I am. That kind of tired? Maya gave a humorless smile. The kind where coffee starts looking like a food group. Evelyn chuckled softly. Where are you? Hospital parking lot. You supposed to be going home? I was. And now? Maya looked back toward the emergency entrance. Now. Someone used my credentials to open Elijah's chart. There was a pause. Are you sure? Hospital administration is. Then you need a lawyer. I knew you were going to say that. Because I'm usually right. Maya leaned against her car. I don't want this turning into a circus. It already has. I mean the military part. Evelyn understood immediately. Raven 4. Maya said nothing. Evelyn's voice softened. They saw the jacket? Yes. They saw your arms? Yes. Did you tell them? No. Good. Maya frowned. Good? You are not obligated to turn your whole life into evidence just because somebody else made a mistake. Maya looked down at her hands. The old scars were hidden beneath her sleeves again. I could make it easier for them. You could also make it easier for them to stop looking at what actually happened. Maya knew Evelyn was right. Still, she was exhausted. I just want to go home. Then go home tonight. Tomorrow, we figure out the rest. Maya nodded, even though Evelyn couldn't see her. Before hanging up, Evelyn added, and eat something. I had coffee. That is not food. I had a granola bar. That is barely an apology for food. Despite everything, Maya laughed. It was the first genuine sound of relief she had made all evening. She drove home through the fading San Diego traffic, past storefronts glowing beneath streetlights and restaurants filling with people beginning their ordinary evenings. At a red light, she glanced toward the passenger seat. The space where the old jacket usually sat was empty. She had worn that jacket through years of hospital shifts, long drives, winter mornings in places warmer than San Diego had any right to be, and countless moments when strangers asked questions she never wanted to answer. She had never imagined it would become evidence. Her phone vibrated again. This time it was a text from her attorney, a woman Evelyn had recommended years earlier. The message was short. Call me before you speak to anyone at the hospital. Maya stared at the screen. Then she put the phone face down. She wasn't frightened. Not yet. But she understood something now. Someone had taken an event that should have been simple and was turning it into a story. And stories could be changed. The next morning, Maya arrived at Pacific Mercy just after sunrise. The hospital was already awake. Transport staff moved quietly through the halls. Physicians stood around a workstation with paper cups of coffee. An older respiratory therapist she had worked with for years gave her a tired nod as she passed. "Morning, Maya." "Morning, Ray." He looked at her carefully. "You okay?" "I've had better mornings." "That bad?" She gave him a faint smile. "You know me." Ray nodded. "I know you." That was exactly the kind of answer Maya needed. She reached the administrative office and found Karen waiting with another woman Maya didn't know. The woman introduced herself as the hospital's compliance officer. They sat around a small conference table. Karen folded her hands. "Maya, this is not a disciplinary hearing." Maya looked at her. "Then what is it?" "An access review." The compliance officer turned a laptop toward her. On the screen was Elijah Carter's medical record. Beside the record was a list of access entries. Maya recognized her own username. The time made her stomach tighten. "That's not possible. You were credentialed into the system at that time," the compliance officer said. "I was at the police station." "We understand that. Then why is my name here?" "We don't know yet." Maya leaned closer to the screen. "Show me the workstation." The compliance officer hesitated. "That information requires a deeper audit." "Then do the deeper audit." The woman looked at Karen. Maya kept her voice calm. "If you believe I altered that record, say it." Neither woman answered. That silence told Maya enough. Karen finally spoke. "No one is accusing you of anything." Maya looked at the username. "Not yet." The compliance officer lowered her gaze. "We're going to temporarily remove you from charge responsibilities until the audit is complete." Maya sat very still. Not suspended, not fired, just removed from the role she had spent years earning. A quiet punishment before anyone had proved anything. She stood. Understood. Outside the office, she found Mercer waiting near the hospital entrance. He wasn't in uniform. His hands were in the pockets of a plain jacket. Maya stopped when she saw him. "What are you doing here?" "I wanted to talk." "About what?" "The report." Maya stared at him. "You signed it?" "No. Your name is on it." "I wrote the initial narrative." "Did you write that Elijah wasn't having respiratory distress?" Mercer looked away. "No." "Did you write that I created the appearance of an emergency?" "No." Maya held his eyes. "Then someone changed what you wrote." Mercer didn't answer. That was enough. Maya stepped closer. "Daniel, what did you see last night?" He looked at her for a long moment. "I saw a patient struggling to breathe. And I saw you help him. And?" Mercer lowered his voice. "And I think the report is going somewhere it shouldn't." Maya's expression didn't change. "Then stop it." He swallowed. "I'm trying." "No," Maya said quietly. "You're deciding whether trying is worth what it might cost you." Mercer had no answer. Maya walked past him. For the first time, she understood that the case wasn't simply about what had happened on that street. It was about what happened afterward. And someone had already started changing the record. Maya spent the rest of the morning trying to work without looking like she was waiting for something to go wrong. It was difficult. Every time she passed the trauma station, she noticed the empty chair where she normally coordinated admissions. Someone else was reviewing charts there now. A younger nurse glanced up when Maya walked past, then quickly looked back at the computer. No one had said she was suspended. No one had said she was under investigation. But the difference was academic. Her authority had been quietly taken away. At 11, Karen from administration came to find her. "The audit team is ready." Maya followed her into a small conference room where a hospital compliance officer named Thomas Reed was waiting with 2 laptops open. Thomas was in his late 50s, gray-haired, soft-spoken, and careful with his words. "Miss Williams, I want to make something clear," he said. "We are reviewing access activity, not making a finding against you." "Then show me the activity." Thomas nodded. He turned one screen toward her. "Elijah Carter's chart was opened after you left the treatment area." Maya looked at the timestamp. Her stomach tightened. I wasn't here. We know. Then why is my username attached to it? That is exactly what we're trying to determine. Maya leaned closer. The screen showed her credentials, her employee identification, a chart access entry, nothing else. No workstation? Not on this report. No device? Not on this report. Then this is incomplete. Thomas gave a small nod. It is. Maya looked at him. You said you wanted to determine what happened. Start there. Thomas glanced at Karen. We will. Not eventually, Maya said. Now. Karen folded her hands. Maya, we understand you're upset. I'm not upset. Karen stopped. Maya's voice remained even. I'm tired. There's a difference. Thomas closed the laptop halfway. We can request a deeper systems audit. That takes authorization. Request it. We already have. Maya stared at him. When did you do that? This morning. Before or after I was removed from charge? Karen answered this time. After. Maya leaned back. There it was again. Not an accusation. Not a conclusion. A decision made first, questions later. Thomas seemed to understand what she was thinking. Removing you from charge responsibilities is standard procedure when a clinical record becomes part of an external investigation. Maya nodded slowly. I understand procedure. Thomas looked at her. Then you understand why we have to be careful. I understand. She stood. Do you understand something too? Karen looked up. Maya continued. If someone used my credentials, then every note I entered is suddenly vulnerable. My license, my reputation, my entire career can be questioned because a password appeared on a screen. Nobody answered. Maya picked up her bag. I didn't make that record, Thomas said quietly. We're going to find out who did. I hope so. She left the conference room. Outside, the hallway was busier now. Visitors moved past with coffee cups and paper bags from the cafeteria. Nurses called to one another from open doorways. A transport worker pushed an empty wheelchair toward the elevators. Everything looked normal. Maya wondered how many people had ever realized how easily normal could disappear. Her phone rang. It was the attorney Evelyn had recommended. Lisa Grant. Are you somewhere you can talk? Yes. Good. Tell me exactly what happened with the chart, Maya explained. Lisa listened without interrupting. When Maya finished, Lisa asked, Did you personally access Elijah's chart after you left the treatment area? No. Did anyone ever ask for your password? No. Did you leave a workstation logged in? No. Did you hand your badge or log in to anyone? No. Then don't speculate, Lisa said. From this point forward, we deal with what can be proven. Maya appreciated the simplicity. What about the police report? That's a different problem. They're connecting everything. I know. Lisa paused. Did they mention evidence tampering? Maya looked down the hall. Yes. Then this is bigger than an obstruction complaint. Maya closed her eyes briefly. That's what I was afraid of. Lisa's tone became firmer. Do not let anyone turn this into a conversation about your military service. Your service is part of your history. It is not your defense. Maya remembered the way Mercer had looked at her scars. He knows who I am. That doesn't change anything. I know. Good. Then we proceed from evidence. The call ended. A few minutes later, Maya stopped at the employee entrance and found Daniel Mercer standing beside an unmarked department vehicle. He looked as though he hadn't slept. What are you doing here? She asked. I needed to talk to you. About the report? Partly. Maya waited. Mercer looked down at the pavement. I didn't write that you staged a medical emergency. I know. I didn't write that you tampered with evidence. You didn't tell me that before. I should have. Maya studied him. Why didn't you? He took a breath. Because I thought the rest of the report would correct itself. Maya's expression hardened. Reports don't correct themselves. I know that now. No. You knew it then. Mercer looked at her. You're right. That was the first thing he had said all day that sounded completely honest. Maya folded her arms. What else? Mercer hesitated. The body cam file from the stop is being reviewed. Reviewed by whom? Department evidence. Was it recording? Yes. Maya watched him closely. And Mercer glanced toward the building behind her. They're saying there may be a technical problem with the file. Maya said nothing. Mercer lowered his voice. I don't think that's the whole story. For a moment, neither moved. Then Maya asked, Do you trust your own department? Mercer looked away. I trust the people who still remember why they took the job. Maya held his gaze. Then, find one. She walked back toward the hospital. Mercer remained beside the car. And for the first time, the possibility entered his mind that the missing truth might not be hidden inside Maya's past at all. It might be sitting inside a recording that someone was already trying to make disappear. The next morning, Maya arrived at Pacific Mercy with one question she could not shake. Who had opened Elijah Carter's chart? The hospital's compliance office gave her no answer. Not yet. So she went somewhere else. The medical records department occupied a quiet corner of the administrative wing, far from the noise of the emergency department. Rows of locked cabinets lined one wall. Although most of the hospital's newer records existed electronically now, Maya had always found comfort in that room. Paper was slow. Paper left a trail. Thomas Reed was waiting for her. He had a laptop open and a folder beside it. I pulled the preliminary access history, he said. And? He turned the screen toward her. Maya studied the entries. Her username appeared again. The timestamp was after she had left the treatment area. I told you I wasn't there. I know. Then why are we still looking at my credentials? Thomas folded his hands. Because the system records the account that was used, not necessarily the person sitting at the keyboard. Maya looked at him. That matters. It matters a great deal. Then find the keyboard. Thomas smiled faintly. That's what we're doing. He opened another panel. The information was more technical this time. Workstation identification, session records, access tokens. Maya leaned closer. The suspicious entry had come from a terminal she did not recognize. Where is that workstation? Thomas hesitated. In an administrative area near the police liaison office. Maya straightened. The police liaison office? It doesn't mean police accessed your account. I know. Thomas studied her expression. But it means someone outside your normal clinical workflow may have been using a terminal where your credentials were cached. Maya exhaled slowly. So my password wasn't necessarily entered. Not necessarily. Then someone could have opened the chart without knowing my password. Yes. That was the first piece of information all morning that felt like solid ground. Then Thomas closed the window. There's something else. Maya waited. The access occurred after the original emergency documentation had already been completed. When? Thomas gave her the approximate time. Maya immediately knew. That was while I was at the police station. Thomas nodded. So someone was reviewing his chart after they had taken him into custody. Yes. Why? I don't know. Maya looked at the screen again. Can you tell me exactly what was accessed? Not from the basic report. Then get the deeper audit. We've already requested it. From whom? Information security. How long? Thomas paused. Possibly a day or two. Maya let out a slow breath. Everything takes a day or two when the answer matters. Thomas didn't disagree. Before she could say more, her phone rang. Lisa Grant. Maya answered. Any progress? Lisa asked. Maybe. Maya explained the new terminal information. Lisa listened carefully. That's important, she said. It's not proof. No. But it breaks the assumption that your credentials automatically mean you accessed the chart. Maya sat down. There's another problem. What? They're saying Elijah's phone is missing a recording. Lisa was silent for a moment. Did you ever touch his phone? No. Did you see it? Before he was treated. It was in the property area, with the officers. Then we need the chain of custody. Maya looked toward Thomas. I'm going to find out. Lisa's voice became firm. Do not speak to Harlan alone. Why? Because right now you're not just a witness. They're building a theory around you. Maya lowered her voice. What theory? That you manufactured a medical emergency, interfered with an investigation, and somehow helped eliminate evidence. Maya closed her eyes briefly. That sounds ridiculous. Ridiculous theories have caused very serious damage before. The call ended. Maya remained seated. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel angry. Not loud anger. Not the kind that burned hot and disappeared. This was colder. Someone had taken a sick man, a medical record, and a missing phone, and was trying to connect them to her. She stood and walked back toward the emergency department. Her old position was still occupied by another nurse. Maya said nothing. She went to the staff lounge and poured herself coffee. The first sip tasted terrible. She drank it anyway. 10 minutes later, her phone buzzed. A message from Lisa. Found the property log. Call me. Maya stepped into an empty hallway. What did you find? The phone was not entered into the formal property record immediately. Maya's eyes narrowed. How long? Long enough to matter. Who had physical possession? That's what we're trying to establish. Maya leaned against the wall. Lisa, if the phone wasn't logged, someone could say I had access to it. Exactly. So we need the patrol car footage. Yes. Maya thought of what Mercer had told her the day before. The body cam might have a technical problem. What about the dash cam from the second cruiser? What second cruiser? Maya explained that another patrol car had been parked across the street. Lisa became quiet. Do you know whose vehicle it was? No. Then, find out. Maya called the hospital's security desk and asked whether their exterior cameras captured the street. The security supervisor checked. There are cameras covering the ambulance entrance and the front drive, he said. Nothing directly across the street. What about the side entrance? Partial view. Maya thanked him. She was about to hang up when another thought struck her. Can you tell me whether any police vehicle was visible in the camera angle? The supervisor paused. I can check. A few minutes later, he called back. There's one cruiser visible at the edge of the frame. Maya's pulse quickened. Can you send me the footage? Not directly. Your attorney would need to request it. Maya smiled for the first time that morning. Then, my attorney will request it. She ended the call. At that moment, Mercer appeared at the far end of the hallway. He saw her expression. What happened? Maya looked at him. Your department says the phone is missing. Mercer stopped. It shouldn't be. It wasn't entered into the property log immediately. His face changed. Who told you that? My attorney. Mercer glanced around before lowering his voice. I remember the phone. I know. It was placed in the evidence bag. Before I treated Elijah? Yes. Maya studied him. Then, you know I couldn't have touched it. Mercer nodded. I know. Do you? He looked directly at her. Yes. Maya waited. Mercer finally said, I need to check something. What? My patrol car. He walked away. Maya watched him go. For the first time since the confrontation on the street, she felt something close to hope, not trust. Not yet. Hope, because evidence did not care who wore the uniform, and if someone had moved that phone, there would be a record somewhere, even if the record was the one person in the department had forgotten to erase. By noon, Mercer was standing in the evidence room with the patrol supervisor, staring at a property log that should have been routine. It wasn't. He had asked for the original entry associated with Elijah Carter's phone. The clerk had printed the page and placed it in front of him without comment. Mercer read it once. Then again, the phone was listed, but not when he remembered it being secured. Who entered this? He asked. The clerk, an older man named Frank, adjusted his glasses. Looks like Sergeant Harlan's unit. Where's the first entry? Frank tapped the page. There isn't one. Mercer frowned. There has to be. There isn't. When was the phone first logged? Frank pointed to the timestamp. Mercer stared at it. Several minutes were missing. Not seconds. Not a typographical error. A gap. Mercer leaned closer. What does this note mean? Frank read it. Evidence. Status pending supervisory review. Who requested the review? Frank looked at the screen. Sergeant Harlan. Mercer felt his stomach tighten. Before the phone was logged? Frank nodded slowly. That's what the system says. Mercer stood. Can you print the audit trail? Frank hesitated. I'm not supposed to release the internal audit directly. I'm asking you to preserve it. Frank looked at him for a moment, then nodded. I can preserve the record. Do that. Mercer walked out of the evidence room and stopped in the hallway. His phone vibrated. Harlan. Mercer answered. Sergeant. Where are you? Evidence. A pause. Why? I had questions about the Carter property log. Another pause. Then Harlan's voice became almost conversational. Questions about paperwork aren't your job. Mercer looked through the glass panel beside him. I was the officer who took custody of the phone. You were one of the officers at the scene. I remember where it went. You remember a lot. There was something sharp underneath the words. Mercer lowered his voice. I'd like to see the original record. You've seen the report. I asked for the original. Harlan C. Hill. Come to my office. The call ended. Mercer stood there another moment. Across town, Maya was sitting in a quiet corner of the hospital cafeteria with Lisa Grant. A bowl of soup sat between them. Maya had barely touched it. Lisa slid a printed request across the table. This is the formal demand for the police property records. Maya read it carefully. You think they'll give them to us? Not voluntarily. Then how do we get them? We ask the court. Maya looked up. That fast? Lisa gave her a tired smile. We're past. Asking politely. Maya folded the paper. There's something else. She told Lisa about the second cruiser and the hospital exterior camera. Lisa immediately took out her phone. I'll request preservation from the hospital and the department. Maya nodded. What about the body cam? Still listed as technically compromised. Maya looked down at the table. Mercer said he doesn't believe that. That may become important. Only if he says it publicly. Lisa studied her. You trust him? No. Lisa waited. Maya corrected herself. I don't trust what he does under pressure. That's different. Yes. Then watch what he does next. Maya looked toward the cafeteria windows. Outside, San Diego was bright and calm. People crossed the parking lot carrying grocery bags. An older couple walked slowly toward a parked sedan, the man holding the door for his wife. A hospital volunteer pushed a cart of coffee toward the lobby. Ordinary life. Maya wished she could return to it. Her phone rang. This time it was the hospital compliance office. Maya, we have an update on the chart access. She straightened. What did you find? We've identified the workstation. Maya glanced at Lisa. Where? The compliance officer lowered her voice. A restricted administrative terminal near the police liaison area. Maya said nothing. There's more. The woman continued. The terminal didn't authenticate with a fresh password entry. What does that mean? It appears your credentials were already active on the workstation. Maya's eyes narrowed. Cached? Yes. Can you identify the device? Yes. Can you identify the person? No. Maya closed her eyes. At least one part of Harlan's theory was beginning to crack. She opened them again. Send everything to my attorney. We will. The call ended. Lisa leaned forward. That changes things. It changes one thing. What? Someone had access to my account. Lisa nodded. And that means we stop defending against their story and start asking who needed my name attached to the chart. Maya looked at her. For the first time, the question frightened her more than the accusation. Because if someone had deliberately used her credentials, then the medical record wasn't simply being misunderstood. It was being used. Across town, Mercer entered Harlan's office. The sergeant was seated behind his desk, reviewing paperwork. Sit. Mercer stayed standing. I want the original property log. Harlan looked up. You've already read it. I want the audit trail. Why? Because there's a gap. Harlan's expression remained calm. There are always gaps in field documentation. Not like this. Harlan leaned back. Daniel, you're getting too close to a problem you don't fully understand. Mercer stared at him. What problem? Harlan closed the folder. The problem of trusting your memory over the department's record. Mercer felt the words settle heavily between them. You told me reports are what happened. They are. Then why is the first entry missing? Harlan's eyes hardened. Because you're starting to ask questions that belong above your pay grade. Mercer almost laughed. Instead, he said, what happened to the body cam? Technical issue. Who verified it? Evidence personnel. Who approved the quarantine? Harlan said nothing. Mercer waited. That silence was answer enough. Finally, Harlan leaned forward. You've been through a lot, Mercer. Don't let one civilian nurse make you question everything. Mercer's expression changed. This isn't about her. Harlan studied him. Then what is it about? Mercer answered quietly. Whether. The report is true. Neither man moved. Then Harlan picked up his phone. Meeting over. Mercer turned toward the door. Sergeant. Harlan looked up. The description changed before we continued holding Carter. Harlan's face remained unreadable. Mercer continued. And you knew it. The silence that followed was longer this time. Harlan finally said, "Be careful, Daniel." Mercer opened the door. He stopped. "I was." Harlan said nothing. Mercer walked out. That afternoon, Maya received an email from Lisa containing a single photograph. It was grainy security footage from the hospital's exterior camera. A patrol cruiser was visible at the far edge of the frame. Its rear passenger door was open. A uniformed officer stood beside it, and on the seat inside was a clear evidence bag containing something rectangular, a phone. Maya zoomed in. Her heart began beating faster. The timestamp was visible. It was several minutes before she had ever reached Elijah. She forwarded the image to Lisa. Then she stared at it again. Someone had already known where the phone was. Someone had already decided where it belonged. And now, Maya had the first piece of evidence that could prove it. Maya stared at the photograph on her phone until the details began to blur. She zoomed in again. The patrol cruiser was unmistakable. So was the clear evidence bag on the rear seat. And the timestamp was clear enough to matter. Lisa Grant called within a minute. "I saw the image," she said. "You got it?" "Yes." "Can it be authenticated?" "Not from one photograph." Maya looked back at the screen. "But it can lead us to the original." "That's what I need." Lisa's voice became more focused. "Do not forward this to anyone except me. Not the hospital, not Mercer. Nobody." "Why?" "Because if the image is real, I want the original preserved before someone realizes we have it." Maya understood. "Okay. Also, I want to know which cruiser that is." Maya looked closely. "There's a unit number on the rear panel. Can you read it?" She zoomed in. "Yes." She gave Lisa the number. "I'll trace the vehicle history through the proper channels," Lisa said. "Meanwhile, go home." Maya almost laughed. "You know I'm bad at that." "I know. That's why I'm telling you." The call ended. Maya remained in the hallway. A few minutes later, she received another call. This one was from the emergency department. "Maya, can you come down here?" It was Karen. "I'm upstairs." "I know. There's something you should see." Maya found Karen near the record station. Thomas Reed stood beside her with a laptop open. "We received the preliminary system audit," Thomas said. "And," he turned the screen toward Maya, "there were 2 separate access events." Maya frowned. 2. One was the entry we discussed yesterday. The other happened several minutes later. "Both under my credentials?" "Yes." Maya studied the entries. "The second one came from a different terminal." Thomas nodded. "Same cached credentials. Different workstation." "Where?" Thomas pointed to the location field. "Administrative corridor, near the liaison office." Maya looked at Karen. "Who has access to that area?" "Hospital security, certain administrators, and approved outside personnel." "Police?" "When they are here, for authorized matters." Maya leaned closer. "Can you tell which terminal was used?" "Yes." "Can you tell who was sitting there?" "No." That answer disappointed her. But it also changed the case. Someone was repeatedly using her credentials from places where she was not physically present. It wasn't an accident anymore. It was a pattern. Thomas opened another window. "We're still working through the device certificates." "What does that mean?" "It means the system can tell us whether the credentials were used directly from your workstation or carried through another authorized terminal." "And?" "We haven't finished." Maya nodded. "Finish it." Thomas smiled faintly. "You and your attorney seem to have similar expectations." "They should." Karen looked uneasy. "Maya, there's one other thing." "What?" "We've been contacted by the police department." Maya waited. "They've asked whether you had authorized access to Elijah Carter's record for investigative purposes." Maya stared at her. "I was his nurse." "That isn't the question they asked." "Then what is the question?" Karen hesitated. "They want to know whether you could have altered his record." Maya's expression went completely still. "Did you tell them?" "I told them the audit was ongoing." "And that I was removed from charge duties?" Karen nodded. Maya looked away. She had spent years learning not to react when other people were frightened. But this was different. Someone wasn't simply questioning her judgment anymore. They were positioning her as a suspect. Her phone vibrated. Lisa again. "We found the vehicle." Maya stepped away from the records desk. "Which cruiser?" "It was assigned to Mercer." Maya stopped. "You're sure?" "The unit number matches." Did you get the original dashcam? Not yet. Maya, Harlan. We need it. We do. Now. I know. Lisa lowered her voice. There's a complication. What? The department says the dashcam file is corrupted. Maya stared at the hospital window. The same explanation Mercer had given her. Technical problem. Missing phone. Missing footage. Her credentials showing up where she wasn't. One problem might be coincidence. 3 was no longer coincidence. Lisa, Maya said, what if the camera isn't actually broken? That's the question. A quiet voice came from behind her. You're asking the right one. Maya turned. Mercer stood several feet away. She hadn't heard him approach. Lisa was still on the line. Is he there? She asked. Yes. Don't discuss the evidence. Maya ended the call. Mercer looked tired. Your attorney doesn't trust me. She shouldn't. He accepted that without argument. I found something. Maya folded her arms. What? I checked the cruiser inventory. And the phone was placed inside my vehicle before you arrived. Maya's eyes narrowed. That matches the hospital footage. Mercer looked surprised. You have footage? Partial. Can I see it? No. He nodded. Fair. Maya studied him. What did you find about the body cam? Mercer lowered his voice. I know the camera was working. How? I tested it before the shift. And the department says it failed. Yes. Did you tell them? I did. What did Harlan say? Mercer hesitated. He said, equipment failure happens. Maya looked at him. What else? Mercer glanced toward the busy hallway. He told me not to confuse technical questions with disloyalty. Maya let that sit between them. Then she said, this isn't about loyalty. I know. It's about whether someone changed the story. Mercer looked at her uncovered arms. He seemed about to say something about Raven 4. Instead, he stopped himself. That mattered to Maya. What happens now? She asked. Mercer answered quietly. I look at my own car. What do you mean? The dashcam system stores more than the final video. Maya's eyes sharpened. Then find out what it stored. Mercer nodded. He started walking away. Maya stopped him. Daniel. He turned. If you find something, don't bring it to me. Why? Bring it to Lisa. He understood immediately. Because if I hand it to you, they can say you influenced me. Maya gave a slight nod. And if you hand it to my attorney, the evidence speaks for itself. Mercer looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, understood. He walked toward the elevators. Maya watched until the doors closed. Only then did she look back at the hospital records screen. Her username, a remote terminal, a police liaison area, a missing video, a phone that had entered custody before she ever arrived. None of it proved who was responsible. Not yet, but someone had been building a version of events. And for the first time, Maya had a reason to believe that version might be coming apart. The next morning, Maya arrived at the courthouse carrying a thin folder from Lisa and a paper cup of coffee she had forgotten to drink. The building was already busy. Attorneys moved through the lobby with briefcases pressed against their sides. County employees stood near the security checkpoint, and an older man in a navy blazer quietly argued with a parking attendant over a citation. Nobody looked twice at Maya. She preferred it that way. Lisa met her near the elevators. Any sleep? A little. That means no. Maya gave her a faint smile. Lisa opened the folder. The hospital has preserved the exterior footage. Good. The original file is better than the still image you saw yesterday. Maya looked at her. How much better? It shows the cruiser clearly enough to identify the unit. The phone? Still visible inside. Maya, Harlan. Then that's our first break. Lisa shook her head. It's a break, not a victory. I know. They stepped into the elevator. Lisa continued. The department is claiming the video doesn't prove what happened inside the cruiser. It proves the phone was already there. Yes. But Harlan's position is changing. Maya looked at her. How? He's no longer arguing that you had physical access to the phone. What is he saying now? That Elijah could have deleted the file remotely. Maya stared at the elevator doors. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't have to make complete sense yet. It only has to create enough uncertainty to keep the investigation alive. The elevator opened. They stepped into a quiet administrative hallway. Maya stopped. I thought you said the hearing wasn't today. It isn't. Then why are we here? Because I received something this morning. Lisa pulled a phone from her bag and played a short audio clip. A male voice came through the speaker. Uncuff him. Maya froze. It was her voice. Lisa stopped the recording. They released this to a local news outlet last night. Maya looked at her. That was recorded at the scene. Yes. And that's all they released? Yes. Where's the rest? Lisa's expression hardened. That's the problem. Maya understood immediately. The clip had been cut. Her voice sounded commanding without context, without Elijah struggling to breathe, without the medical explanation, without the inhaler, without the long exchange that had come before those words. Maya folded her arms. Why would they release that? To shape public perception before the evidence is complete. She looked toward the hallway. I don't care what the public thinks. I know, but they may use it against Elijah. They already are. Lisa opened another document. His EMT program has temporarily suspended his field placement, pending resolution of the police case. Maya's expression changed. He's losing his placement because of this? Not permanently. But the school doesn't want controversy around an active trainee. Maya lowered her eyes. For several seconds, she said nothing. Then she asked, How is he? He's okay physically. That wasn't what I asked. Lisa understood. He's scared. Maya nodded. That was enough. They continued walking. At the end of the corridor, a conference room had been reserved for them. Waiting inside was Thomas Reed from Pacific Mercy, along with a hospital security specialist. Thomas stood when Maya entered. We finished part of the audit. Maya sat down. What did you find? Thomas opened his laptop. The first access under your credentials was from one terminal. The second came from another. Both in the police liaison area? Yes. Same user session? No. Maya leaned forward. Thomas displayed the system records. Your account was already authenticated on both terminals. The system didn't request a fresh password. So someone could have walked up and used it. Correct. Can you identify the terminal? Yes. Can you identify who used it? Thomas shook his head. Not yet. Maya looked at the security specialist. Can you identify the physical access? We have badge records for the hallway. Then use them. The specialist hesitated. There were several authorized entries. Several? Yes. Maya glanced at Lisa. Who? The specialist pulled up the access list. Hospital staff, security personnel, and authorized police personnel. Maya looked closely. Then she saw a familiar name. Not Harlan. Not Mercer. Someone from the department's liaison unit. Her stomach tightened. What does that person do? Thomas answered. Evidence coordination. Lisa immediately leaned forward. Don't assume that means anything yet. I know. The room became quiet. Then Thomas clicked open another file. There is one more issue. Maya looked up. What? The medical telemetry. She straightened. You recovered the raw data? Yes. And? Thomas rotated the screen toward her. The data showed Elijah's oxygen saturation falling before Maya ever touched the property bag. Maya stared at the numbers. For the first time in days, something in the official record matched what she knew had happened. Lisa read the report. This is independent of Maya's notes? Yes. Independent of the police report? Yes. Automatically generated? Yes. Maya breathed out. They can't say I created this. No, Thomas said. Not based on the telemetry. Lisa nodded slowly. That changes the medical side of the case. Maya looked at the screen. Then why do I feel like Harlan already has another answer? Lisa gave her a serious look. Because he probably does. As though summoned by the thought. Maya's phone vibrated. It was a message from Mercer. They are asking for a supplemental statement. A second message followed. Harlan wants me to describe the moment you intervened. Maya stared at the words. Lisa asked, What does he want? Maya showed her the phone. Lisa's face tightened. Do not tell him what to write. I won't. Don't tell him what happened either. He was there. I know. Another message appeared. They want me to say your actions escalated the detention. Maya read it twice, then typed a reply. Tell the truth. Nothing more, nothing less. She hesitated before sending it. Then she pressed the screen. Across the city, Mercer stood alone in a department hallway, staring at the same message. Behind him, Harlan's office door opened. "Daniel." Mercer turned. "Come in." Mercer put his phone away. He knew what Harlan wanted, and for the first time, he was no longer sure he could give it to him. Mercer closed the door behind him and stood for a moment without speaking. Harlan remained behind the desk, one hand resting on the open incident file. "Sit down." Mercer took the chair. Harlan slid a single page across the desk. "Supplemental statement." Mercer glanced at it. "I've seen this." "You've seen the draft." Mercer read the first paragraph again. The wording was careful. Too careful. It described Maya entering the scene without authorization, issuing medical instructions, challenging officers, and insisting on the removal of a restraint. Not one sentence mentioned Elijah's declining oxygen levels. Mercer looked up. "You want me to sign this?" "I want you to verify it." "That isn't what I saw." Harlan leaned back. "What did you see?" Mercer hesitated. "A nurse who believed a man needed medical attention." "That sounds harmless." She was right. Harlan's expression did not change. "That's not the question." Mercer looked down at the statement again. "The question is whether she interfered with the detention." "Yes, she did." "And did her behavior escalate the situation?" Mercer paused. "No." Harlan folded his hands. "Then, phrase that carefully." Mercer looked at him. "Why?" "Because reports aren't essays. They're supposed to be accurate. They're supposed to be useful." Mercer felt his jaw tighten. "Useful to whom?" Harlan stared at him for several seconds. Then he said, "You're letting this nurse get inside your head." Mercer didn't answer. Harlan continued, quieter now. "You recognize that call sign?" Mercer's eyes narrowed. "That doesn't affect the report." "It affects you. I can separate the two." "Can you?" Harlan reached into the folder and pulled out a copy of the earlier incident report. "You saw her arms?" Mercer looked away. "You learned who she was." "I learned who she used to be." "And now you're questioning everything." Mercer said nothing. Harlan leaned closer. "Daniel, I need you to remember something. A person's past does not automatically make their present version of events true." Mercer looked at him. "I know." "Good." Harlan tapped the supplemental statement. "Then, sign it." Mercer picked up the pen. He stared at the signature line. He could write the version Harlan wanted. It was not an outright lie. That was the problem. It was the kind of statement that could be defended, sentence by sentence, while completely changing the shape of the truth. Mercer put the pen down. "I need time." Harlan's face hardened. "Time for what?" "To review the body cam. You've been told it's unavailable. Because of a technical failure." "Yes." "Then I want the technical report." Harlan leaned back. "You're getting too focused on that file." Mercer stood. "Maybe because it was recording." Harlan's eyes sharpened. "Careful." Mercer walked out. Across the city, Maya sat in Lisa Grant's office while a digital evidence specialist reviewed the hospital footage. The specialist paused the video. There. The frame showed the patrol cruiser across the street. The rear passenger door was open. Inside was the clear evidence bag containing Elijah's phone. Maya pointed. "That's before I arrived." "Yes." Lisa leaned closer. "How precise is the hospital camera clock?" The specialist answered, "Within a few seconds after synchronization." Lisa nodded. "That should survive scrutiny." Maya stared at the screen. "Can we establish when the phone was first logged?" "We have the property record," Lisa said. "But the record doesn't match the video." "Exactly." The specialist advanced the footage. The cruiser remained in frame. A second officer approached. The bag was moved slightly. Then another officer closed the door. Maya sat upright. "Stop." The specialist froze the image. Maya pointed toward the cruiser. "That's Mercer." Lisa studied the screen. "Yes." Maya looked at the timestamp. Mercer was already holding the phone. Before Maya had ever arrived. Lisa exhaled slowly. "That gives us physical custody." Maya nodded. "But not the missing video." "No." "Then we keep going." The specialist opened another file. This came from the patrol vehicle inventory system. A transfer record appeared. The phone had been logged after the initial scene. Maya read the time. "There." "What?" "That was after Elijah was already inside the ambulance." Lisa looked at the record. "So the first official entry happened after the phone had been sitting inside the cruiser." "Exactly." Maya's voice was quiet. Someone decided when the evidence officially began. Lisa nodded. That matters. The specialist frowned at his screen. There's something else. Maya looked up. What? The device ID attached to the missing video file doesn't match the phone's current evidence record. Lisa leaned forward. What does that mean? It means either the file was transferred before the phone was logged, or somebody changed the evidence metadata. Maya felt a chill run through her. Lisa looked at the specialist. Can you prove which? Not yet. The answer was almost identical to everything they had heard for days. Not yet. Maya stood and walked toward the window. Outside, an older man carried 2 paper grocery bags toward a parked pickup. A woman in a gray cardigan waited patiently for him to unlock the passenger door. Normal life. Maya watched them for a moment. Then her phone buzzed. A message from Mercer. They want me to sign the supplemental statement tonight. Maya stared at it. Another message arrived. I haven't. She looked at Lisa. Lisa read the screen. Don't tell him what to say. I know. Ask him one thing. What? Whether he has seen the original body cam file. Maya typed. Have you personally seen the original recording? The answer came quickly. No. Then, but I know it existed. Maya's eyes narrowed. She typed again. How do you know? There was a longer pause. Then his reply appeared. Because I watched the recording check successfully before the shift ended. Maya looked up. Lisa had already understood. If that's true, Lisa said. The failure happened later. Maya nodded. And the only question is when. Lisa closed the laptop. Now we have to find out who had control of the file between those 2 moments. Maya looked at the screen again. She was no longer trying simply to clear her name. She was trying to find the exact moment when an ordinary police report stopped being a record of what happened and became something someone wanted everyone else to believe. Across town, Mercer sat alone at his desk. The unsigned supplemental statement lay in front of him. He picked up the pen. Then his eyes moved to the evidence system notification on his monitor. Body cam file status. Quarantined. Mercer stared at it. He clicked for the audit details. Access restricted. Supervisor authorization required. His hand stopped over the mouse. Then, slowly, he clicked the request button. He knew exactly whose authorization the system would ask for. Harlan's. Mercer stared at the restricted access notice on his monitor. He knew what would happen if he requested authorization through the normal chain. The request would go to Harlan. So instead of clicking the approval prompt again, Mercer printed the screen and carried the page down the hallway to the evidence office. Frank looked up from his desk. You look like you've seen a ghost. Can you pull the system history for my body cam? Frank leaned back. Official request? Not yet. Frank studied him. That means I probably shouldn't. Mercer placed the printed page on the desk. I just need to know whether the file was uploaded. Frank glanced at the screen. Why? Because I watched it upload. Frank looked again. Then, he entered a command. The system returned a status line. Frank frowned. That's odd. What? The file exists. Mercer leaned over the desk. Exists where? In the archive. Not quarantined? It is marked quarantined. Mercer stared at the screen. So it wasn't lost. Frank shook his head. No. Then why does the department say it's corrupted? Frank didn't answer immediately. He opened another panel. There's a checksum. Mercer knew enough about digital evidence to understand what that meant. A checksum was essentially a digital fingerprint. If the file had changed, the checksum would tell them. Does it match? Frank looked at the original upload record. Yes. Mercer felt a chill. Say that again. The checksum on the archived file matches the checksum recorded when your camera uploaded it. So the file didn't change. Correct. And the original upload was successful. Frank nodded. Mercer stared at the monitor. The explanation he'd been given was no longer merely incomplete. It was false. Can you print this? Frank looked nervous now. I can print the system history. Do it. Before Frank could move, a voice came from behind Mercer. What are you doing? Mercer turned. Harlan stood in the doorway. Frank immediately looked down. Mercer remained still. I was checking an evidence status. You were told not to access that file. I didn't open the file. You didn't have authorization. Mercer looked at the screen. I have authorization to know whether evidence assigned to my incident exists. Harlan stepped closer. Not when it's under review. Then why does the system show a valid checksum? Harlan stopped, only for a fraction of a second. But Mercer saw it. What checksum? Mercer pointed at the screen. The one proving the uploaded file is intact. Harlan's expression returned to neutral. Technical metadata can be misleading. Can it? Yes. Mercer stared at him. You told me the file was corrupted. It was flagged as corrupted. That isn't the same thing. Harlan's voice became colder. Are you challenging me? Mercer paused, then said, I'm asking a question. Harlan leaned closer. Then ask it through the proper channel. He turned and walked away. Mercer watched him leave. Frank spoke quietly. You should probably stop. Mercer looked at the screen again. No. He picked up the printed history. Not yet. Across town, Maya was sitting with Lisa Grant in the courthouse conference room. Lisa had the hospital telemetry report open. Elijah's oxygen saturation had dropped significantly before Maya's intervention. The data was clean, automatic, time-stamped, independent. Lisa placed the report on the table. This ends the claim that you invented the medical emergency. Maya nodded. It should, but Harlan has changed the focus. To the phone. Yes. Maya looked at the evidence photograph again. The clear bag, the patrol cruiser, the phone, already inside. What if he says I had some way of deleting it remotely? Then digital forensics has to answer that. Can they? They can determine whether the deletion originated from the device, a linked account, or another system. Maya leaned back. How long? Depends on access. Maya almost smiled. Everyone keeps saying that. Lisa closed the folder. Because access is the bottleneck. Maya's phone vibrated. She looked down. It was Mercer. I need to talk. Lisa saw the message. Do you want me there? No. Why? Because if he's finally ready to tell the truth, he needs to do it without anyone feeding him the answer. Lisa nodded. Maya stepped into the courthouse hallway. Mercer was waiting near a row of windows. He looked exhausted. You said you found something. I found the body cam file. Maya's expression changed. The original? Yes. Where? In the archive. Then why hasn't anyone shown it? Mercer shook his head. Because it was quarantined after upload. Why? That's what I'm trying to find out. Maya studied him. Is it damaged? No. She waited. Mercer lowered his voice. The checksum matches the original upload. Maya understood enough. So the video exists. Yes. And the department knows that. Yes. Silence settled between them. Maya asked, who quarantined it? Mercer hesitated. I don't have the authorization log yet. Why not? Supervisor approval. Maya's eyes narrowed. Harlan. Mercer did not say the name. He didn't need to. Maya looked through the courthouse window at the traffic below. For the first time, the truth was becoming visible. Not because someone had confessed, because the system itself was refusing to support the story being told about it. Mercer looked at her. I need to tell you something else. Maya turned. The supplemental statement. What about it? They want me to say your actions escalated the detention. Maya's face remained calm. Did they? Mercer looked away. You didn't comply with every order. That wasn't the question. No. So answer the real question. Mercer looked back at her. No. You did not escalate it. Maya held his gaze. Then don't write that I did. I haven't signed it. Good. Mercer swallowed. They're pressuring me. I know. They'll review my conduct. They probably should. His expression tightened. You don't care what happens to me? Maya's answer was quiet. I care what you choose. Mercer said nothing. Maya stepped closer. Daniel, I know what loyalty feels like. But loyalty to a person is different from loyalty to a version of events. He nodded slowly. I know. No, she said. You're learning. That hit him harder than an accusation. Mercer glanced down the hallway. I'll get you the audit trail. Don't bring it to me. He looked surprised. Give it to Lisa. You trust her? I trust the process more when everyone can see it. Mercer nodded. He turned to leave. Maya stopped him. Daniel, he looked back. Did your camera record the moment I told you Elijah was hypoxic? Yes. And the entire conversation? Yes. Maya looked at him. Then whatever happens next. Don't let anyone turn a fragment into the whole story. Mercer nodded. I won't. He walked away. Maya stood alone near the windows. A few minutes later, Lisa came toward her with a folder. What did he say? Maya told her. Lisa opened the folder and studied the medical telemetry. Then she looked up. We have the medical record. The cruiser footage. Yes. The archived body cam. Apparently. Lisa closed the folder. What we don't have is the chain between them. Maya looked toward the courthouse doors. Then that's what we find. Her phone vibrated again. A message from Mercer. This time there were only 3 words. I found the authorization. Maya stared at the screen. Lisa leaned closer. Who? Maya read the message again. Then her face changed. Harlan. Neither woman spoke, because the next question was no longer whether someone had mishandled the evidence. It was why. By the time the evidentiary hearing began, Maya had stopped expecting anyone in the room to simply believe her. Belief was fragile. Records were harder. She sat beside Lisa Grant at the long courtroom table, wearing a dark suit over a pale blouse. The olive medical jacket rested, folded across the back of her chair. She had brought it with her without knowing why. Maybe because after everything that had happened, leaving it at home felt like leaving part of the story behind. Across the room, Sergeant Blake Harlan sat beside department counsel. He looked calm, almost relaxed. Daniel Mercer sat several seats behind him. Maya caught his eye for only a moment. He gave a small nod. Nothing more. The judge entered. Everyone rose. And the hearing began. The first witness was Thomas Reed from Pacific Mercy. He explained the automated medical telemetry from Elijah Carter's treatment. Lisa asked, Mr. Reed, was this data entered manually by Miss Williams? No. Was it entered by a police officer? No. Who generated it? The monitoring system. Did Miss Williams have the ability to change the original readings? Not through the normal clinical interface. Lisa placed the report on the table. What does the raw data show? Thomas pointed to the sequence. Elijah's oxygen saturation was already declining before Miss Williams intervened. And after treatment? It improved. How long after intervention? A short interval. The judge looked at the medical record. So you're saying the respiratory event began before the nurse took control of the situation? Yes, Your Honor. Harlan's attorney stood. No objection to the telemetry itself. Lisa turned. Then, we can establish that the emergency was real. The attorney shook his head. We can establish that Mr. Carter experienced respiratory distress. That does not answer the remaining questions regarding the missing digital evidence. Lisa nodded. Fair enough. Maya looked toward Harlan. He didn't move. The argument was no longer that Elijah had been fine. The argument had changed. Again. Lisa called the next witness. A digital forensic specialist explained the evidence associated with Elijah's phone. The specialist spoke carefully, avoiding technical language, unless necessary. The device was in police custody before Miss Williams arrived. Lisa asked, Can we establish that? Yes. How? Through independent video and property records. Harlan's attorney stood. The property record has a timing discrepancy. Correct, the specialist said. Meaning the exact moment of custody is disputed? The original entry time is disputed. Lisa stood. Not whether the device was physically inside the cruiser? The specialist shook his head. Correct. The courtroom became quiet. Lisa displayed the hospital security footage. The image was grainy but unmistakable. The patrol cruiser sat across the street. The rear passenger door was open. Inside was the clear evidence bag. The phone was already there. Maya had not even arrived. The judge examined the screen. Is the timestamp reliable? The specialist nodded. Within a few seconds. Based on the hospital's synchronized security system. Harlan's attorney looked toward the monitor. The footage does not show the contents of the bag in sufficient detail to prove that is Mr. Carter's phone. Lisa answered calmly. That is why we're not relying on the image alone. The specialist produced the device identifiers. The phone's serial information matched the property description. No one spoke for several seconds. Then the attorney representing the department stood again. We acknowledge there were documentation irregularities. Maya looked at Lisa. Lisa did not react. The attorney continued. Field investigations are complicated. Officers make mistakes. Timestamps can differ. Property entries can be delayed. Supplemental reports may clarify information that was incomplete in the initial record. He paused. These are administrative imperfections, not evidence of misconduct. Harlan remained completely still. Maya understood what was happening. They were giving the mistakes a harmless name before anyone could call them something else. Lisa stood. What do you call a missing property entry when the evidence was already in police custody? The attorney replied, a documentation error. What do you call a body cam file that was successfully uploaded but later labeled defective? A technical issue under review. What do you call a medical chart accessed through a nurse's credentials from a terminal she did not use? A system irregularity. Lisa looked toward the judge. 3 separate irregularities. The attorney nodded. Yes, and all 3 happened to support the same version of events. He said nothing. Lisa sat. The judge turned toward Harlan. Sergeant, did you personally review the incident documentation? Yes, Your Honor. Did you know the medical telemetry contradicted the initial characterization of Mr. Carter's condition? Harlan paused only briefly. I knew there was additional medical information. Did you know it existed before the supplemental report was prepared? Yes. Maya watched him. He had conceded that much. The judge continued. Why did the original report not include it? Harlan answered evenly. Because the officer on scene was not a medical professional. The report reflected what was observed from a law enforcement perspective. Maya felt her hands tighten in her lap. A medical emergency had been reduced to a perspective. Lisa rose again. Sergeant, did Officer Mercer ever tell you that he believed Miss Williams was medically correct? Harlan looked toward Mercer. Not in those words. Mercer remained silent. Lisa asked, did he object to the characterization of Miss Williams as escalating the detention? Harlan's expression hardened. I don't recall the exact conversation. Mercer finally spoke from behind department counsel. I do. Everyone turned. The judge looked at him. Officer Mercer, you'll have your opportunity to testify. Mercer lowered his eyes. Yes, Your Honor. The judge returned to the documents. Continue. Lisa introduced one final document. The body cam upload record, not the video itself. The system entry confirming that the file had been received successfully. The technical examiner explained the digital checksum. It matched the original upload. The judge looked up. So the file was intact when it entered the archive. Yes. Harlan's attorney shifted in his seat. Maya looked at Mercer. He was staring at the document. The hearing had reached a point where nobody could honestly call everything a simple clerical mistake anymore. But Harlan still had one advantage. The original body cam video had not yet been played. The judge ordered the digital evidence administrator to testify at the next session. As the courtroom began to empty, Lisa leaned toward Maya. We've proven the emergency. Maya nodded. And the phone was in custody. Yes. And the body cam was uploaded successfully. Yes. Maya looked toward Harlan. Then why do I feel like we're still missing the most important part? Lisa followed her gaze. Because we are. Across the courtroom, Harlan stood and gathered his papers. For the first time, he looked directly at Maya. There was no anger in his face, only calculation. Then he turned toward the door. Maya watched him leave. She had spent days trying to prove that she had not changed the story. Now the hearing was becoming something else. It was becoming a search for the person who had. The courtroom doors opened again the following morning, and this time the atmosphere felt different. Nobody in the room was waiting for another explanation of a missing phone or an inconsistent report. They were waiting for the original body cam file. Maya sat beside Lisa with her hands folded on the table. The olive medical jacket was draped over the back of her chair. She had brought it with her again, though she had no intention of wearing it. Daniel Mercer sat behind the department counsel. Sergeant Harlan sat several seats away. He looked exactly as he had before, calm, prepared, almost bored. The judge entered, and everyone stood. When the room settled, the court clerk called the next witness. A digital evidence administrator named Robert Hale approached the stand carrying a secured laptop. Lisa stood first. Mr. Hale, were you responsible for receiving Officer Mercer's body camera file on the night of the incident? Yes. Did the file upload successfully? Yes. Was there an error during the initial upload? No. Lisa looked toward the screen. Was the file intact when it entered the archive? Yes. Harlan's attorney stood. Objection to the word intact, without qualification. The judge looked at Hale. Can you clarify? Hale nodded. The file generated a digital checksum at upload. The archived file retains the same checksum. The judge frowned slightly. What does that tell us? It tells us the file in the archive is the same file that was uploaded. Lisa returned to her chair. The judge looked toward department counsel. You may cross-examine. The attorney stood. Mr. Hale, does a matching checksum prove that the contents of the video are accurate? No. Could the camera itself have captured something incorrectly? Any recording device can have technical limitations. So the existence of a matching checksum does not tell us whether the recording reflects the full incident. That is correct. The attorney smiled slightly. No further questions. Maya watched Harlan. He hadn't moved. Lisa stood again. One more question, Your Honor. The judge nodded. Mr. Hale, when was the body cam file marked as quarantined? Hale gave the date. And why? Technical defect. Who authorized that status? Hale looked toward the department counsel. The attorney stood. Objection. Administrative authorization is not relevant to the factual circumstances of the detention. Lisa turned toward the judge. It becomes relevant if the department is using the absence of the recording to support a disputed narrative. The judge considered the argument. Sustained, in part. You may ask about the chain of custody and access. Keep the question narrow. Lisa nodded. Mr. Hale, who had authorization to change the file status from active archive to quarantine. Supervisor-level access. Was that access logged? Yes. Do you have the log? Yes. Lisa looked at Harlan. Did you review it before coming to court today? Harlan's attorney objected. The judge looked at Lisa. Counsel, where are you going? Lisa said. The next witness. She sat. The courtroom doors opened. Officer Ana Ruiz entered. Maya recognized her immediately from the scene. Ruiz approached the witness stand and took the oath. Lisa walked toward her. Officer Ruiz, were you assigned to a nearby unit on the evening of the Carter detention? Yes. Did your department-issued body camera record that evening? Yes. Did it capture the moment the incident began? Not visually. Lisa waited. Did it preserve audio before your camera was manually activated? Ruiz nodded. Yes. Harlan's attorney rose. Your Honor, we have not received an authenticated copy of the alleged recording. The judge turned to Lisa. Do you have one? Yes. Lisa handed a secured drive to the clerk. We provided a forensic copy to all parties. The judge looked at department counsel. Any objection? On authenticity grounds. The judge looked at Ruiz. Officer, did you provide the device for forensic preservation? Yes. Was the file altered? No. The digital administrator had already prepared the report. The judge nodded. Play it. The courtroom became completely still. A low wash of street noise came through the speakers. Then Harlan's voice. Calm, distinct. Leave the phone off the property sheet until we know what's on it. Mercer's voice followed. That's not procedure. A pause. Then Harlan again. It is now. Maya did not move. Neither did Mercer. The recording continued. Another stretch of background noise. Then Mercer's voice. The updated description doesn't fit Carter. Harlan answered almost immediately. Then stopped talking about the update. The audio ended. Nobody spoke. Not even Harlan. The judge looked at the clerk. Play that again. The recording repeated. This time Maya watched Mercer. His face had changed. Not because he was surprised. Because he knew this was the moment he could no longer remain halfway between two versions of the truth. When the audio ended, the judge looked toward Harlan. Sergeant, would you like to respond? Harlan rose slowly. Yes, Your Honor. He walked to the lectern. I will not dispute that the recording contains my voice. Maya felt Lisa's hand move slightly across the table. Harlan continued. The statements were made during a complicated field investigation. Decisions were being made quickly. I was concerned about maintaining chain of custody and avoiding premature release of evidence. The judge studied him. Why was the phone not immediately entered? Because we had not yet established what information it contained. That does not answer the question. Harlan paused. We were trying to protect the investigation. The judge looked down at the documents. And what about the instruction to stop discussing the updated suspect description? Harlan's jaw tightened. I did not want officers making assumptions based on incomplete information. Lisa stood. Your Honor, the description was not hypothetical. It was a dispatch update already received by the officers. Harlan looked at her. You're interpreting a radio transmission after the fact. No, Lisa said. The system timestamp is doing that. A murmur moved through the courtroom. The judge raised a hand. The room quieted. Then the judge turned toward Mercer. Officer Mercer, please stand. Mercer rose. The judge looked at him. You will testify at the next session. Mercer nodded. Yes, Your Honor. He looked toward Maya. Their eyes met. She didn't smile. Neither did he. But something had changed. Harlan was no longer the only person controlling the narrative. And Maya knew the next question would not be about the jacket, the scars, or even Raven 4. It would be about what Mercer had seen before he knew who she was. The courtroom was quieter when Daniel Mercer took the witness stand. Maya sat beside Lisa, her hands folded tightly together. She had seen Mercer nervous before, but never like this. His uniform looked exactly the same as it had on the street, yet something about him seemed different now. Harlan watched from the opposite table, calm, waiting. The judge looked at Mercer. Officer, I want you to understand that you are under oath. Answer the questions directly. Yes, Your Honor. Lisa stood. Officer Mercer, when you first encountered Miss Williams, did you know she was Raven 4? No. Did you know she had previously served as a Navy corpsman? No. Did you know she had any connection to the military? I knew she was wearing an old military medical jacket. I did not know why. Lisa nodded. So when you ordered her to remove it, you were not doing so because you knew her history? No. Why did you order her to remove it? Mercer looked toward Harlan for half a second. Then he looked back at the judge. I believed she might be using the appearance of military authority to interfere with the detention. Maya felt something tighten in her chest. Lisa continued. Did Miss Williams ever claim to have police authority? No. Did she claim to be active military? No. Did she threaten you? No. Did she physically resist you? No. Then why did you detain her? Mercer paused. Because she refused an instruction to step back, and later refused to remove the jacket. Lisa nodded. Was she interfering with your ability to control the scene? At the time, I believed she was. At the time? Mercer swallowed. Yes. Lisa took a step closer. And now? Mercer looked directly at her. Now I believe I was wrong. A faint movement passed through the courtroom. Harlan's attorney stood. Objection. That is a conclusion. The judge looked at Mercer. You may explain what changed your opinion. Mercer nodded. I learned what the jacket meant. Lisa asked. You mean Raven 4? Yes. And that changed your interpretation of the incident? Mercer answered carefully. It changed my understanding of who Miss Williams was. Lisa paused. Did it change what happened? Mercer looked at her. No. That answer seemed to settle heavily over the room. Lisa continued. So the fact that Miss Williams was Raven 4 did not make her medical assessment correct? No. Her medical training did. Yes. Her observations of Elijah Carter did? Yes. And the medical telemetry later confirmed those observations? Yes. Lisa walked back toward the table. Now let's talk about escalation. Did Miss Williams cause Elijah Carter's respiratory distress? No. Did she create the medical emergency? No. Did she alter the police detention for personal reasons? Mercer took a breath. No. Lisa looked toward the judge. No further questions. The department attorney stood. Officer Mercer, you have said you were wrong about Miss Williams. Is it possible that your personal connection to her military history has affected your testimony? Mercer nodded once. Yes. Harlan's attorney seemed almost satisfied. So you admit your relationship to Miss Williams could influence you? I said it could. And she once saved your life? Yes. Does that create a personal obligation? Mercer looked down for a moment. It creates gratitude, and gratitude can affect judgment. Yes. The attorney smiled slightly. Then isn't it possible that after learning who Miss Williams was, you began interpreting the scene differently? Mercer looked toward the judge, then back at the attorney. I did interpret it differently. The attorney raised an eyebrow. Because of her identity. No. He paused. Because I had finally stopped looking at her identity. The attorney frowned. Mercer continued. When I first saw that jacket, I thought she was using it to claim authority she didn't have. Then I learned she wasn't claiming anything. She was just trying to treat a man who couldn't breathe. The courtroom remained silent. The attorney changed direction. Did she disobey your instructions? Yes. Did she challenge you? Yes. Did she tell you to release a restraint? Yes. Then she did interfere. Mercer shook his head. She disagreed with me. That is not the same thing? No. Why not? Mercer looked at Maya. Because she was right. Harlan shifted in his seat. The attorney glanced at him, then returned to Mercer. Officer, are you accusing your supervisor of misconduct? Mercer did not answer immediately. Maya watched his face. This was the moment she had warned him about, the moment when loyalty became a choice. Mercer finally spoke. Yes. The attorney straightened. To your knowledge, Sergeant Harlan deliberately altered evidence? Mercer took a breath. I don't know everything that happened. Then what are you accusing him of? Ordering conduct that was not consistent with proper evidence procedures. Harlan's attorney looked toward the judge. On what basis? Mercer answered. I heard him. The judge leaned forward. Heard him say what? Mercer looked at the courtroom. Leave the phone off the property sheet until we know what's on it. Harlan's expression hardened. Mercer continued. And when I told him the updated suspect description didn't fit Carter, he told me to stop talking about the update. The judge glanced toward Harlan. Sergeant, did you say those things? Harlan stood. Your Honor, statements made during an evolving investigation can be misunderstood. The judge cut him off. That was not my question. Harlan stopped. A long silence followed. Finally, he said, yes. The judge looked down at the evidence in front of him. And the body camera file? Harlan's attorney objected before the question was completed. The judge overruled him. Harlan answered slowly. I authorized the quarantine. Why? I believe the file required technical review, but the file was successfully uploaded. Yes. And its checksum matched the original upload. Yes. The judge's expression hardened. Then why was it labeled corrupted? Harlan looked toward the department counsel. I believed there were concerns regarding its integrity. Mercer spoke from the witness stand. The integrity wasn't the issue. The judge looked at him. What was? Mercer answered quietly. The report. Maya closed her eyes for one brief moment. There it was. Not a dramatic confession. Not a shouted accusation. Just the truth finally spoken without decoration. The judge ordered the digital audit records into evidence and directed that Harlan's supervisory actions be formally reviewed. Harlan sat down slowly. For the first time since the street, he no longer looked completely in control. After the hearing recessed, Mercer stepped into the hallway. Maya was waiting near the courthouse windows. He approached slowly. You were right, he said. Maya looked at him. About what? That loyalty isn't the same as truth. She was quiet. Mercer continued. I should have said all of this sooner. Yes, I know. Maya glanced toward the courtroom doors. You finally told the truth. Mercer nodded. I did. And you're going to have to live with what it costs you. I know. Maya studied him. Then she said softly, that's what accountability is. Mercer gave a tired nod. Neither of them mentioned Raven 4. They didn't need to. For the first time, Maya was not standing there as someone's former savior. She was standing there as a nurse who had told the truth. And Mercer was finally standing there as a police officer willing to pay a price for doing the same. The hearing ended without a dramatic ruling. There was no applause, no angry outburst, and no sudden order for anyone to be taken away. The judge simply ordered the remaining digital records preserved and scheduled the next procedural review. It was careful, deliberate, almost quiet. But for Maya, something had changed. She stepped out of the courthouse with Lisa beside her, the afternoon sun warming the sidewalk. You all right? Lisa asked. Maya nodded. I think so. Lisa glanced back toward the courthouse doors. Mercer did the right thing. He did. You don't sound relieved. I am. But. Maya looked at the old jacket draped over her arm. But he waited until he had nowhere else to stand. Lisa said nothing. Maya slipped the jacket on. The sleeves covered most of her scars again, but she no longer pulled them down instinctively. She wore the jacket because she chose to, not because she needed to hide, not because she needed to prove anything. Her phone rang. It was Pacific Mercy. "Maya, this is Thomas," she answered. "We finished the deeper audit." Maya stopped walking. "What did you find?" "The chart access under your credentials did not originate from your workstation." "I know that. There's more." Lisa looked at her. Maya put the call on speaker. Thomas continued. "The terminal was located in the administrative corridor near the police liaison office. The session was initiated using a cached credential token tied to your account. Can you identify the person?" "Not directly." "Then what can you identify?" "The device certificate." Maya frowned. Thomas explained carefully. "Every authorized workstation has a certificate that identifies the machine. Your credentials were used from that terminal." "Who had access to it?" "Several people." "Hospital staff?" "Yes." "Police personnel?" "Authorized personnel had temporary access." Maya glanced at Lisa. "Can you match the access time to badge records?" There was a brief pause. "We're working on that. Please don't stop." "We won't." The call ended. Lisa looked at Maya. "That gets us closer." "It gets us to the room." "Which is where?" "Near the police liaison office." Neither woman spoke. Maya looked toward the courthouse. Inside, Mercer was still there. She wondered how long it would take before someone asked him to choose again. Her phone rang once more. This time it was Elijah. Maya answered immediately. "Hey." His voice sounded steadier than it had at the scene. "Miss Williams?" "It's Maya." "Okay." "Maya." She smiled faintly. "How are you feeling?" "Better." "Good." There was a pause. "They told me my field placement is still suspended." "I know. Am I going to lose the program?" Maya looked at Lisa. "We're working on that." "I thought, because of the police report." "The report is being challenged. But what if they believe it?" Maya's expression softened. "Then, we'll give them something stronger to believe." "What?" "The truth." Elijah was quiet. Then he said, "You really think that works?" Maya looked down at the old jacket. "It has to." When the call ended, she stood quietly for a moment. Lisa touched her arm. "You don't have to carry his case." "I know. You've already done enough." Maya shook her head. "No. I helped him breathe. That's what a nurse does." She looked back at the courthouse. Now someone has to help him breathe through the rest of this. Later that afternoon, Mercer returned to the department. He found his supplemental statement still sitting on his desk, unsigned. Beside it was a formal notice requiring him to cooperate with an internal review. He read it slowly. Then he looked at the body cam audit request he had submitted. The system status had changed. Review initiated. He sat down. A colleague from evidence approached his desk. "You've got a problem." Mercer looked up. "What now?" "The quarantine authorization." "What about it?" "The system is asking for a verification signature." "Whose?" The colleague lowered his voice. "Sergeant Harlan's." Mercer stared at him. "Why?" "Because he was the one who placed the file under review." Mercer leaned back. "So the person who says the file has a problem is the same person who locked it?" The colleague shrugged. "That's how the system is configured." Mercer looked at the notice again. "How long has it been locked?" "Since the night of the incident." "And nobody challenged it?" "Apparently not." Mercer stood. "Print the access history." The colleague hesitated. "That's restricted." Mercer reached for his badge. "Then request it." The colleague gave him a look. "You sure?" Mercer thought about Maya sitting alone in the interview room, about Elijah struggling to breathe, about the words he had written and the words Harlan wanted him to sign. "Yes." At the end of the hallway, Harlan appeared. "Daniel." Mercer turned. "We need to talk." "I assumed we would." Harlan walked closer. "You've made your position clear in court." "I told the truth." "That isn't the same thing as loyalty." Mercer looked directly at him. "Maybe that's the problem." Harlan's expression hardened. "You're making a serious mistake." "Maybe. You have years invested in this department." "I know." "A pension." "I know." "Your reputation." Mercer nodded. "I know." Harlan lowered his voice. "And all of that can disappear very quickly." Mercer looked at him. "So can a person's reputation when a report is written the wrong way." Harlan's jaw tightened. "Careful." Mercer didn't move. "You told me reports are what happened." "I did." You were wrong. Harlan stared at him. Mercer continued. Reports are what someone says happened. Evidence tells us whether they're right. Harlan turned away. Get back to work. Mercer watched him disappear down the corridor. He then returned to his desk and opened the request form. The access history came through minutes later. He read it once, then again. There were several entries. One showed the body cam file being uploaded successfully. Another showed the quarantine status being applied. A third showed an administrative terminal accessing the case file. Mercer copied the record. His hands had started shaking. Not from fear, from certainty. He opened a new message to Lisa Grant. Before he could send it, another notification appeared. Supervisor review required. He looked at the screen, then at the hallway where Harlan had disappeared. For the first time in his career, Mercer understood that choosing the right thing would not simply mean telling the truth. It would mean deciding who he was willing to stand against when the truth became expensive. Across town, Maya sat alone at her kitchen table. Her coffee had gone cold. The old jacket lay folded beside her. She reached out and touched the faded Raven 4 patch. For years, she had thought the hardest part of surviving was remembering what she had endured. She was beginning to understand that sometimes the harder task was deciding what to do after surviving. Her phone chimed. A message from Lisa. We found something important. Maya opened it. There was no explanation. Just an attached document, an access log, and one name highlighted in red. Maya stared at it, then whispered to herself, "All right." She picked up the jacket. This time, she put it on without trying to hide the scars underneath. Whatever came next, she was done protecting herself from being seen. The lesson from Maya's story is simple. Truth does not always speak the loudest, but it has a way of surviving every attempt to bury it. Maya never asked anyone to respect her because of her military past. She simply stood up for what was right, protected a man who could not speak for himself, and refused to let a distorted report replace the truth. We are also reminded that loyalty should never mean protecting wrongdoing. Real courage is having the strength to tell the truth, even when doing so comes at a personal cost. Thank you so much for staying with us and listening to this entire story. Your time, your attention, and your support mean more than you know. We would truly love to hear your thoughts. How did you feel about the way this story was told? Was there anything you would change, add, or improve in the storytelling? Your feedback helps us make every new story better. And if you have a powerful, inspiring, or unforgettable true-to-life story of your own, please share it with us and send it to the channel. Your story may be the one that gives someone else courage, hope, or a reason to believe in justice again. This video is a work of fiction created with the assistance of artificial intelligence. All characters, events, and situations are not real and do not represent any actual people or true stories. The content is intended for storytelling and emotional illustration only.